What's up, guys, and welcome back to my reading journey. Hope we're all doing fine. It's Friday evening. You're probably gonna hang out somewhere. But first, you want to listen to me, right? And I'm gonna continue with the fifth part of next reading matter. So let's do this. I have an idea that I could have done it as well myself. Mrs. Judson Tate, says I, don't forget the name. You've had the use of my tongue to go with your good looks, my boy. You can't let me your looks, but hereafter my tongue is my own. Keep your mind on the name that's to be on the visiting cards, 2 inches by 3.5. Mr. Judson Tate, that's all. All right, says Fergus, laughing again. I've talked with her father, the accolade, and he's willing. He's to give a beer bile tomorrow evening in his new warehouse. If you were a dancing man, Judd, I'd expect you around to meet the future Mrs. Mahan. But on the next evening, when the music was playing loudest and the accolade Zamora's into the room steps Judson Tate in new white linen clothes, as if he were the biggest man in the whole nation, which he was. Some of the musician jumped off the key when they saw my face, and one or two of the timidest senoritas let out a screech or two. But up prances the accolade and almost wipes the dust off my shoes with his forehead. No mere good looks could have won me the sensational entrance. I hear much, Senor Zamora, says I, of the charm of your daughter. It would give me great pleasure to be presented to her. There were about 6 dozen willow rocking chairs with pink teddies tied on them, arranged against the walls. In one of them sat Senorita Annabella in white Swiss and red slippers with pearls and fireflies in her hair. Fergus was at the other end of the room, trying to break away from two maroons and a claybank girl. Maroons and a claybank girl. The accolade leads me up to Annabella and presents me. When she took the first look at my face, she dropped her fan and nearly turned her chair over from the shock. But I'm used to that. I sat down by her and began to talk. When she heard me speak, she jumped, and her eyes got as big as alligator pears. She couldn't strike a balance between the tones of my voice and the face I carried, but I kept on talking in the key of C, which is the lady's key, and presently she sat still in her chair, and a dreamy look came into her eyes. She was coming my way. She knew of Judson Tate and what a big man he was, and the big things he had done, and that was in my favor. But of course it was some shock to her to find out that I was not the pretty man that had been pointed out to her as the great Judson. And then I took the Spanish language, which is better than English for certain purposes, and played on it like a harp of 1,000 strings. I ranged from the second G below the staff up to F sharp above it. I set my voice to poetry, art, romance, flowers, and moonlight. I repeated some of the verses that I had murmured to her in the dark at her window, and I knew from a sudden soft sparkle in her eye, that she recognized in my voice the tones of her midnight mysterious whir. Anyhow, I had Fergus McMahon going. Oh, the vocal is the true art, no doubt about that. Handsome is as handsome. Palavers. That's the renovated proverb. I took Senorita Annabella for a walk in the lemon grove while Fergus, disfiguring himself with an ugly frown, was waltzing with the Clybank girl. Before he returned, I had permission to come to her window in the patio the next evening at midnight and talk some more. Oh, it was easy enough. In 2 weeks, Annabella was engaged to me and Fergus was out. He took it calm for a handsome man and told me he wasn't going to give in. Talk may be all right in its place, Judson, he says to me, although I've never thought it worth cultivating. But, says he, to expect mere words to back up successfully a face like yours in a lady's good graces is like expecting a man to make a square meal on the ringing of a dinner bell. But I haven't begun on the story I was going to tell you yet. One day I took a long ride in the hot sunshine and then took a bath in the cold waters of a lagoon on the edge of the town before I'd cooled off. That evening after dark, I called at the Accolades to see Annabella. I was calling regularly every evening then, and we were to be married in a month. She was looking like a bulbul, a gazelle, and a tea rose, and her eyes were as soft and bright as 2 quarts of cream skimmed off from the Milky Way. She looked at my rugged features without any expression of fear or repugnance. Indeed, I fancied that I saw a look of deep admiration and affection, such as she had cast at Fergus on the plaza. I sat down and opened my mouth to tell Annabella what she loved to hear. That she was at first monopolizing all the loveliness of earth. I opened my mouth, and instead of the usual vibrating words of love and compliment, there came forth a faint wheeze, such as a baby with croup might emit. Not a word, not a syllable, not an intelligible sound. I had caught cold in my laryngeal regions when I took my injudicious bath. For 2 hours I sat trying to entertain Annabella. She talked a certain amount, but it was perfunctory, 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 and diluted. The nearest approach I made to speech was to formulate a sound like a calm, trying to sing a life on the ocean wave at low tide. It seemed that Annabella's eyes did not rest upon me as often as usual. I had nothing with which to charm her ears. She looked at pictures and she played the guitar occasionally, very badly. When I left, her parting manner seemed cool, or at least thoughtful. This happened for 5 evenings consecutively. Consecutively, sorry guys. On the 6th day, she ran away with Fergus McMahon. Woo! Alright guys, we're gonna stop for today and figure out what happened next, right? Thank you for joining me today. See you tomorrow. Bye.